From the far reaches of space to the darkest places on Earth, join us as we explore the haunted, the cryptid, the creepy, and more. Exposing Reality Radio presents the Spectral Wolfpack Show, your paranormal nightmare, with your host, Alexander Bobolinsky.
What is up, Wolfpack? We are live tonight on this beautiful Wednesday, the 19th. Our event this past weekend at the haunted Hales Bar Dam was a huge success. I think we gathered over 100 stuffed animals for the local charity there, and also had an awesome investigation. We had a great turnout. It was me, Joe Vitale, Eric Connor, and Miranda Young, who was the guest last week. And then today I uploaded a new video from this new black scrying mirror that Jason Emmerich sent me, and his new company, Dark Scries, which I'll have a message about them at the end of this show. So you definitely want to stay tuned to hear that. Other than that, February 9th, I'm doing the Abnormal Alabama Paranormal and Bigfoot Conference. I'll be speaking there. So we're trying to promote that because it is a new event. It's a first year thing, and we're trying to really amp it up since it's one of the only of its kind in Alabama. So our guest tonight has been on the show once before, and tonight we're going to be promoting his new film. But a little bit about him and his wife. Bill and Amy are a husband and wife team living in Southwest Virginia. Together they are small business owners who also enjoy following cryptozoology and other fringe subjects. With Bill's background in photography, the couple decided to venture into movie making as a way to further engage their interests. Their first film is a documentary called Cultured Bigfoot, and it's the result of this inspiration. And their second film, Rite of Passage, an author's journey, which is both of these films are on Amazon, and that one's an inspiring look at being an independent author, which is really awesome. If anyone who goes to a lot of these conferences and stuff, you will really enjoy watching this and find it very relatable. But I'm going to bring Bill in right now, and we're going to talk about paranormal Bigfoot tonight. Bill, what's up, man?
Hey, Alex. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, man. Just staying busy for the holidays, you know.
Yeah. No, I've been keeping up with some of your stuff, and you've got a ton of things going on. And of course, I'd seen where you were down there at the was it the Hales Bar Dam?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the one down there near Ladd's Switch and Nickajack Lake. Is that the same area?
Yeah, it's the town it's in is called Guild or Halestown.
Yeah.
But yeah, right down the river from Nickajack Dam, because I guess that was the dam that they built in in Hales Bar's place once it kind of went under.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think I'd shared this with you once before, but my grandfather, who was a World War II veteran, he actually retired from there. He lived there in Guild and Hale and Ladd Switch. He actually retired from the dam there. I think I told you that way back when.
Yep, I remember that, and that's awesome. We've actually been we met another guy, I think, or some lady was talking about how another guy came up and that his grandfather had worked at Hales Bar and had some blueprints and stuff. But yeah, it's a super cool place.
Yeah, no, I can remember a long, long time ago when I was a kid, and worse the country, it was Ma and Pa. My grandfather and grandmother on my dad's side, Lancaster side, is Ma and Pa. And I can remember Pa taking me and my little brother and dad over there, and we actually went through it when it was still operational.
Wow.
And got to check it out, and so that was kind of neat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk a little bit before we get into the film about Sensabaugh Tunnel, just real quick, because you live pretty close by there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I live up in the Tri-Cities area, up in Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia area, and the Tri-Cities are Bristol, Kingsport, Johnson City. Sensabaugh Tunnel is down in Kingsport area, just on the Sullivan County, Hawkins County line, I believe it is, but it's considered Kingsport to us. And as a young teenager with a license and wanting to go exploring and doing stuff, one of the things we always did was went to creepy places. Mm-hmm. And one of the creepiest places that everybody knew about was Sensabaugh Tunnel. And so anyways, many a late night we would be cruising town, is what we called it, up in Bristol back when everybody still cruised. And we would grab a couple girls and we would take off down towards Sensabaugh Tunnel, which it was like about a 35, 40-minute ride to get there. And the whole way you're telling them the story of the tunnel, how the story that we were told was that the couple that lived on the other side of the tunnel, the lady basically had 2 babies, and I don't even remember if they were a boy or girl, whatever. But anyways, she kind of went crazy one night, and she took the babies into the tunnel, and there's a creek that runs through the tunnel on the side of it, and she drowned the babies in the tunnel, and then subsequently we think she hung herself from the tunnel. But it's one of those, there's so many different iterations of the story. And so anyways, you would tell that whole story, and you're supposed to be able to pull into the middle of the tunnel, and when you shut your vehicle off and everything, mm-hmm. you're supposed to hear those babies crying in the tunnel. And so, and of course you're always supposed to, like all this stuff, you're supposed to do it at midnight or as close to midnight as you can. And it's pretty creepy. And I mean, we had and I told you, we had a really weird experience when we were there with the car actually shutting off pre-planned. We had planned it, but then the car started rolling backwards in a flat tunnel, and then it wouldn't start back up, and we all about flipped out, and we had to go through the tunnel after it started. And on the way back through the tunnel, me and my buddy Mike seen a black goat staring at us on the other end of the tunnel, which just flipped us out. But I mean, even strange. You know, I had told you about it because I knew you were going to be up in the area for the Bigfoot conference, so that you could go check it out. But in the meantime, me and my wife were doing some B-roll footage for Paranormal Bigfoot, and obviously it being called Paranormal Bigfoot, we want some odd-looking, strange footage. And so one of the places that Amy had suggested, and I agreed, was we need to go down to Sensabaugh Tunnel, because I'd done some pictures down there, and I'll have to share a couple of the black and white pictures I did that were really cool years ago. But anyway, so we went down there, and I set the main camera up and was doing some filming of the tunnel from the side the creek runs out of. And I took my drone, and if you know what I'm talking about, there's a katana tray that you can take your DJI Mavic Pro, and you can fold it all up and take the propellers off, and you can hook it in this tray. And basically, you end up Wi-Fiing your phone into the drone, and you have a Steadicam, because that thing's got a 3-axis gimbal, and so you can use it as a Steadicam. So it's another way of making use of a really expensive tool. So I hooked it all up, and I got my wife to go walking through the tunnel, getting some footage, just, you know, real nice, smooth footage going through the tunnel. And when she was got towards the other end of the tunnel, the camera on the drone started going crazy. She thought it was, and I thought it was, the Wi-Fi connection between the phone and the drone just messing with us.
Yeah.
But once you got back home and you downloaded the footage, you seen it wasn't the phone. It actually was on the drone that was doing it. And basically it started shaking, and then she got through the end of the tunnel, and it shot up towards the top of the tunnel, back down, up and back, up and back. Anyways, it was wild and unexplainable. And once she started in it, it did a real weird portal-looking effect that would be hard to replicate even in editing. And then all of a sudden it went back to perfect normal as she started walking on through the tunnel back to the other side. And I actually shared that with you, and I think you actually put a little video up of it. But anyways, it was weird. The reason I had shared it with you was because I was like, dude, other than me putting Bilko watermark across it there, I said, that's all I did to it. This is how it was recorded, and it was just freaky, man. It was wild.
It was weird too.
So that was like, yeah.
It was weird too how like she like walks back toward the tunnel, and then I think she makes it about halfway in or something, and it goes back to normal, right? Or
yeah, it went back to normal. Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, and it was fine the rest of the way. Yeah.
Have you seen it do that again since?
No, but that's because we've just been so busy. Oh, no, as far as down there, no. Yeah, what you're getting at, no, my drone has not done that since then, and it hadn't done it before then. There was no reason, and the thing was, I told myself, because drones can be affected by power lines and magnetic interference and rebar in concrete. That's why you can't take them off. It'll mess with the magnetic in it and then everything, the compass in it. And I told myself it was because there's two small power lines that run on the inside of the tunnel to the other side. You know, they go from, the road runs through it, so they've got them bolted up in the top. Well, if it was that, it would have done it as soon as she walked in all the way through, but it only did it on the other end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then when you came back in, it did it, and then it just quit. So, yeah, I couldn't explain it as being a electrical anomaly, and no, it's not done anything like that before, and it's not done anything like that after.
Yeah,
but we've not been down there either, so.
It was weird, like, how much it was doing it. Like, you would think the thing was broke or something, and then it just was fine. It's weird.
And then that's the thing, is we thought it was literally, because if you've ever done this, it's where you have to Wi-Fi your phone. You're using your phone as a monitor for the drone is what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we just thought it was just the interference between the connectivity. But when we got home and downloaded it, it was actually saved on the card like that. And so you're like, holy crap, that was really doing that. It wasn't just a Wi-Fi connectivity issue. It was really doing it. So, yeah, that was wild. So, yeah, do a little filming, B-roll filming for a paranormal Bigfoot film, and then you have something like that happen, and you're like, whoa.
Especially at a place like where there's supposed to be electrical interference and things that happen to people's cars and electronic. Like, I had my light turn off right in the middle, but I think it was just...
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, just like low battery maybe, but it could have been drained. I don't know. But
yeah, no, it's crazy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you were telling me real quick, I want to hear a little bit about, I think you were telling me about some caves or something like that.
5 caves?
Yeah.
5 caves? Yeah.
I've been hearing about
next time you're up, I'll have to show you where they are. But basically, on that river road that you come down to get to Sensabaugh Tunnel, there's a gigantic trestle that you went under, train trestle, if you remember it. Well, as soon as you go under that train trestle, if you start looking to the right across the river, it's overgrown a lot more now, but you'll see a huge cave in the side of the hill that goes all the way through. You can see light. Well, basically, if you could go up on the train trestle and go to the other side, or go across the river and go to the other side, if you got up in there, you would see it was an old, I don't know, it was a copper or zinc mine or something. They're man-made.
Mm-hmm.
But you walk up on it, and you start walking down, and it's a pit dug out, and there's these 5 caves. The first one goes all the way through to the river, and the second and third one go way back, but they connect. And then the fourth one goes back a little way, and the fifth one was like it never got way back in there. But the second and third one, you can go a long way back in there. And, I mean, it's big enough, Alex, that, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, you could probably set 2 tractor-trailer semi-trucks, 2 or 3 on top of each other, and pull them back through there. If you can imagine, they're humongous. It's at least 2.
Wow.
But we actually had some weird stuff when we were younger. Like idiots, we parked and walked across that trestle and went over there, of course, at night.
Mm-hmm.
And there was supposed to be a lot of satanic worship and stuff was supposed to go on in there. And so it was always real spooky. But there was a lot of, satanic graffiti and all that stuff. And so it made it really spooky. I mean, we ran into some creepy folks back there, but never had anything other than scaring each other. But it's super, super neat.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll have to definitely let you know. And I believe your buddy Joe lives up this way. I'm sure he probably knows where it is. But it's tricky to get to at this point. I don't know how you get to it. Other than going across the river or across the trestle, which obviously you're not supposed to do the trestle, but anyway, so.
Yeah, trestles can be dangerous, and but I mean,
no, this one is like the Stand By Me, or what is that one? Yeah, this is like that kind of trestle, and I'm not exaggerating. It's like that.
Wow, yeah, the Poplick Monster trestle.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't go across it, even though the thrill seeker in me wanted to. Like, people have died there. You can't see it if the train's coming until it's too late. So it was like, just not worth it.
Yeah, and that's the way it is at this trestle too. When you're young and bulletproof, it's no big deal. But literally, you could be out there and one will just come around the corner, and you're like, "Oh crap," So, anyways, that was when I was, good Lord, I was in my early 20s, maybe even late teens. So that's been a long time ago. Yeah,
that's awesome. Gwen had a question, and this could kind of go into. Bring us into paranormal Bigfoot, but she was wondering what your thoughts are about Bigfoot causing interference to cause pictures to be blurry.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I think that's one of those things that would make a whole lot of sense why nobody can get a good picture of them because they have, some kind of a control like that. And what a lot of folks attribute it to is that they're able to, this isn't me, this is me talking for folks that I've interviewed and met, that they believe that, some of them believe they have some kind of a control over the magnetic field around them, and they're able to drain batteries, and they're able to cause video and camera equipment to malfunction. And so that is a belief, and it's one of those things. That's where we do get into the paranormal. Paranormal simply means we don't understand it. It's outside the normal realm. And that's where you kind of get to the point of going, well, we don't understand this, but I don't understand how dolphins use their click and their sonar and how bats use their sonar to fly and all that stuff like that. But we know it's real, and there's a perfect scientific explanation for it. So a creature that we haven't yet proven to be real, how are we not to know that this is something perfectly normal for them, that they have this type of infrasound or magnetic field, that they can create around them or whatnot? It's one of those, you don't know, because we don't know a lot about the creature, except that there are so many folks that have occurrences of stuff like this happening. The zapping feeling, the tingling feeling, the nauseous feeling, the disorientation feeling. It all sounds like stuff that could be related to magnetic anomaly or an infrasound type thing. So, that could very well be why no one can get real good pictures of them. Besides, they're just so elusive and hard to see. But it could simply be because they don't want it, and so they make it happen. They have a vibe, if you will, around them that just won't allow anything short of a. And I mean, this is something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the most famous footage was on film. Think about that, the Patterson-Gimlin film. Well, I've got my, Minolta MX700 up here. There's some black and white film or color film in it, and go out there. I kind of think people would have a better chance using the old, low-tech film way of getting images than all the high-tech stuff like we use today, the game cams and everything, because it's obviously affected by the, by whatever they're doing to it. But film is a different beast. You're going to have to shine something super bright in it to make it blow out whatever you're taking a picture of. I hope that kind of answers that.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I never thought about that either, using film. That's really cool. And I can attest that I've had my camera turn off completely, and then something very large started running through the woods right beside me, and I was like just so mad that my camera shut off, but I couldn't explain why it shut off. It wasn't low battery or anything. And then I felt that disoriented feeling. I actually felt it the other night, and I was actually lucky that I had my power pack on me, because I pulled my phone out to just check my GPS and see if I was still, going the right way. And then my phone just shuts off, and it was at like 10% still. And luckily I had a power pack with me. I was going the wrong way too, in a place I'm familiar with. So it's like,
wow.
Like, I don't know what happened, but I just started feeling that disoriented feeling. So you definitely got to be careful when that hits.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, that's how people get lost in the woods. I mean, I was a deer hunter for years, and it's easy. I mean, we were sitting underneath an ice storm came in, and we were held up underneath our ponchos and had one of these little sternos lit just to try and stay warm. And basically, when we got done, we were just covered by the poncho, in pretty much pitch blackness in the middle of the day in an ice storm on top of the mountain. And basically, when you got back out and under that thing for 45 minutes, you were like, okay, wait a minute, which way's which? Mm-hmm. And that was way before we had phones with GPS and all that stuff on them. And so, yeah, I mean, it's easy to get disorientated and turned around. And so if you have something like that happen out there while you're looking for Bigfoot, and I think that's where a lot of these folks end up going missing. You get into the whole missing 411 stuff and everything. They're able to make you get disorientated, and we found out when we started out with our first film that the further you get into this, the further down the rabbit hole you get, and there's just some weird stuff. I mean, that's what led into making this second film. There was just so many. It was one of them things, man. We interviewed about I think 26 people, and 23 of them got used in the last film.
Wow.
And this one, we've interviewed about 10. So literally, I've talked to, 33, close to 40 folks that are really involved in this Bigfoot search. And all the people you talk to at the conferences, once you start doing these and are invited, they come up to your table and everything and tell you, and basically talk to you because they think you're the Bigfoot expert, and you're not. You're just a filmmaker who has a passion for it, and it's just how you're doing it. But the thing that kept striking me and Amy was we literally have an interview, and once the camera was shut off, the person would go, let me tell you this, and it would be something freaky. This thing disappeared and turned into a ball of light, and you're like, what the? And I mean, it was just, there was, so many folks that would come up to us, or so many folks just off camera after the interview would talk about something else weird happening. Mm-hmm. And basically they don't want to say it on camera because everybody thinks they're crazy, because you're crazy enough for going out in the woods looking for Bigfoot. But if this thing can cloak and turn invisible and zap you and fly across the ground and shoot up into a UFO, well, you're just a nut job, you know. So that was one of the biggest reasons we went into paranormal Bigfoot ? Basically, is how we're looking at it, because we wanted to see what are all these other folks seeing and what of it can be explained that we're just not used to, and what of it is not paranormal but could be supernatural, you know. And so anyways, it was something else that just really interested us. And when you have folks like retired police officers and active duty police officers telling you about these things happening to them, and blue orbs and flashing orbs and disappearing off of their FLIR right in front of them, and you know, it's just you know, there's got to be some kind of an explanation for it. And so we're trying really hard to share. I think we have 9, maybe 10 folks in this one. I can't remember right off the bat, but we're sharing what they think is going on. Nobody knows, and none of them will admit that they know, because there's not any experts out there, but they put rational reasoning to it and scientific reasoning, and then their gut feeling kind of stuff, you know. And anyways, it's going to really make for an interesting film, because we're taking it from 23 different folks interviewed down to just under 10, and we're going to be able to spend a little more time with each one of these explaining their theories and their accounts and what they think.
Yeah, and from what I've seen so far, it's going to touch on some very interesting theories and experiences and people. And I got to say, like, I was watching Rite of Passage and everything, and I can see you guys definitely growing, and I can't wait to see what you do with this third film. It's going to be awesome, man.
Well, I appreciate it. And that was the thing. Rite of Passage and Author's Journey was technically, it was the first film that I filmed, but we had to put it on hold to put it all together and everything. And I was glad that we did, because you can tell, as good as we tried to make the first one, we could see the flaws in it, and several other folks pointed them out, but it ended up still being a pretty good film, especially for your first time out. Well, Rite of Passage and Author's Journey, you can tell we had kind of stepped it up a little, and I was working with Stephen J. Simone's the author, and we were kind of combining forces on that one to get it finished and get it done, and we stepped our game up. And so it's not gotten near the views as Cultured Bigfoot, but I'm just as proud of how it turned out and the subject. And you're right, because if you go to these conferences, whether it's a Comic-Con, whether it's Dragon Con, whether it's a Bigfoot conference or a paranormal conference, this thing is about a local guy that works a job and has 4 kids and a wife, and he has a passion for writing, and in order to do that and be in front of folks, he goes to these conventions and sets up, and so do a lot of other folks. I ended up interviewing Vincent Price's daughter, Victoria Price, for this, Martin Klebold, the dwarf from Pirates of the Caribbean. Let me see, there were Timothy Zahn from created Admiral Thrawn and the Star Wars books. Dan Parsons, a Star Wars artist. There was just a bunch of artists and actors and authors, and they were all doing these conference circuits and being in front of the folks so that they can basically promote themselves and everything. And so to me, it goes right along with the Bigfoot conference stuff, except my first one, I was doing the Bigfoot film, and this one, we were doing the actual conference part of it. And so it's a useful tool for anyone doing what you're doing or I'm doing, or writing or acting or painting or drawing or whatever. It's got a lot of really good information in it, and we had quite a few different folks in it, artists, authors, actors, and everything, sharing their advice advice and information. And
Yeah.
and I say this all the time. We feel like you get everybody to sign a release and everything, but you feel like you're stealing all this knowledge, because these folks, we're just asking the question that gets it out of them, and then we let them be the star and share all this information. And then when you sit back and watch them, you're like, wow, I feel like I learned something, and that's what we're wanting to do, is just, share it, and hopefully this will help somebody else do something, that they want to do and have a passion for. Life's too short, may as well make it interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, I just love that, at these conventions and stuff, meeting everyone and hanging out and having fun, and then doing something like you're doing, you're getting to meet some really awesome people, and like you said, hear their knowledge and experience and everything. That's another reason I do this show, because we get to hear everyone's knowledge and experience as well through this.
Yeah, well, you learn. It's just an infinite reference library is what it is. And shows like yours, people that can go back and listen to them, you've got them titled to where that someone's like, oh yeah, I want to hear about that paranormal Bigfoot stuff, or or the dam stuff, or the tunnel stuff, and so people can go listen and learn from your experience. And it's neat. It's an excellent resource to have stuff like this out there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So tell us a little bit about the release date for Paranormal Bigfoot, and I think you have a premiere set up too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The film is set to be released on Amazon January 18th of 2019. And of course we will have DVDs available, and we're so low tech that we just do it all through Facebook. So if anybody wants a DVD, they can get a hold of us through Bilco Productions or Paranormal Bigfoot Facebook page, and we do the little, do the square reader and all that. But anyways, it'll be on Amazon in the beginning. It'll be on there for rent and download. I'm not sure if it'll be streaming anywhere else yet. The first one we had it streaming on 2 platforms and pulled it off one of them. Mm-hmm. Anyways, January 18th is when it'll be available, so look for it and rent it and download it, and let us know if you want a DVD. But we're actually setting up a public premiere here in Bristol, Tennessee, right downtown on State Street, Foundation Event Facility above 620 Restaurant, so it's easy to find. That's the address, 620 State Street, Bristol, Tennessee. Anyways, they're hosting a premiere, and right now it's set for Saturday, February 9th, and the details are being hashed out right now, but you'll be able to get a ticket for just the show to watch the movie, or you'll be able to get a ticket plus hors d'oeuvres, or you'll be able to get a ticket that has dinner, hors d'oeuvres, and the meet and greet and all that. And it's going to be from $7 for a ticket up to $27 for everything. And none of that's going to us. That's just going to pay for this beautiful facility. It goes straight back to them. But anyways, we'll have a little meet and greet. We'll have a dinner. We'll watch the film, and then we'll be doing a Q&A afterwards. I know that there's going to be several folks besides me and my wife that were involved in the film. We'll have Glenn Paul Richardson, who's the artist for the film that does our fantastic cover art and our scenes that are in the film that we have illustrated. He's also the creator of Sergeant Sasquatch comic. Anyways, he did the work for the first one, and he's doing it for this one, and then when we do the third one, he'll do it. And we've got, I think David Picara is going to try and come up from Expedition Bigfoot. He was in the film. There's several others that have showed interest, and we're not sure exactly who all will be able to yet, but we've even got some folks from the BFRO that are coming in, and we got some folks from Washington State, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky. I put out a feeler for it, and I had a ton of folks respond. And so we may end up having to expand it.
Wow,
But anyway,
great,
I've had folks messaging me asking about tickets, and we're working on getting that available online, hopefully before the end of the week. And then, folks, because I'll be honest with you, I think it'll probably sell out. I mean, we were looking to hope for maybe 100 folks, but the facility will hold 400 that it's in, and it actually has 2 screens. So if we do end up selling more than we thought, then we're going to open the other side up and do it on 2 screens, kind of like they've done at OBC, where they'll have them on 3 screens up there at the same time. But anyways, it's a super sharp facility, and it will honestly be like, besides a public premiere, it'll be like a mini Bigfoot conference the way it's turning out, because it'll be like when you go to the meet and greets and have the dinner at OBC and IBC and stuff, where you get to hang out with them and eat, and then you listen to somebody or watch something. It's reminding me, and it's not on purpose, it's just the way it's working out. It's reminding me of the first night at these big conventions where they get together, have dinner, talk, and show something or have a presentation.
Exactly.
So we're really excited. I mean, I was hoping you'd be able to make it, but I understand you're going to be at a paranormal conference, and so and they happen to be on the same day, and I hate that, but it looks like you're going to have to cancel the other one and come to ours.
Yeah. Man, I'm getting all excited just hearing you talk about it. I'm like, dang, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, honestly, the people that are doing it, he said, if we get a big response out of this and we feel like we need to, we might do a follow-up weekend with it. Now, I have no idea, because we're just me and Amy, and we're nothing special. We just are doing something that a few folks, a handful, happen to be interested in. So we don't really expect 15 people to show up, because when we've done this and been going around showing our film, we've had as little as 30 people, and we've had as much as over 700 people sitting and watching it. So it's kind of hard to get your feelings hurt when you go from one extreme to the other. We're just glad people want to see it.
Yeah.
And so, it'll be interesting when these things actually go live. If they end up just snatching them up, I'm pretty sure the place that's doing the premiere, hosting the premiere, will consider having a follow-up Saturday or something. It's already discussed, or either they'll open up the room to hold more folks and change their plans. So we'll just see. But anyways, there's already another place that local is wanting to host a viewing of it in March, and so there may be other opportunities. And obviously, we've already been asked. I think we're going to be the Pennsylvania Bigfoot camp out. We're going to be up there in May. We'll be up there, and then Kecksburg UFO in Pennsylvania, end of July. We'll be there showing it and talking. We're in works trying to work out something with Mothman. We'll be at the end of October, Creature Weekend, showing it and talking there. And the Western North Carolina Bigfoot Festival has contacted us September 13th, 14th. They're wanting to show both the films. So we've already, it's not even next year yet, and we've been asked to participate in 5 different things with the film. So there'll be, and this is all, East Coast related at this point. We did happen to make it out to Washington for International Bigfoot Conference, where we showed cultured Bigfoot this last year. But anyway, so there'll be some other opportunities to see it live. And we always have our DVDs and poster art and stuff like that. We even got T-shirts now, man, like you.
Yeah, I saw them at CryptidCon, and and I'm gonna have to get a DVD of Paranormal Bigfoot when it drops, definitely.
Yeah, well, I'll be getting a hold of you and sending you one, man. You've helped us out. This is the second time on the show, and this is, I can't be any more honest. It's just me and my wife. People want to know what the production team is. It's me and my wife, man. And the advertising budget is basically putting my trailers on YouTube, linking them to our Facebook accounts, and that's it. low tech on that end. So every chance that we get to speak about it on a different platform that reaches folks that may never hear about it, we appreciate it. And so you can guarantee, Alex, you'll be getting a DVD in the mail when it comes out, man.
I appreciate that. I got some questions here. Anne wanted to know your opinion on why have no Bigfoot remains been recovered.
My opinion, based on a lot of the other folks that I've talked to, and then some of my own personal opinion, is they obviously seem to have an intelligence enough to avoid us for all this time that there is a very good chance that they do practice some kind of a ritual burial and they actually bury their dead. Now, if you don't want to believe that, then you can go back to the one thing that some people accept it and some people scoff at it. But it's as simple as this. I was a deer hunter for years, and I never ran across a dead bear or a dead deer unless I had shot it. Yeah. I never ran across any of that. Never ran across any of those bones either. Well, everybody says they'll dissolve into the forest and porcupines will eat them and they get scavenged and all that stuff. Well, for the people who say, come on, man, that ain't what's happening. Well, I've been out in the woods hunting and I've not run across dead animal carcasses laying everywhere. And we all know that the woods are full of, bobcats and bear and deer and everything else and elk. So, it's one of those things that why haven't we found one? Well, you don't find the animals that we know exist already. You don't just find their dead bones out there. And then if they're actually got an intelligence to them that they're burying them, well, you're certainly not going to find them because then they're burying them.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good answer. I too have never came across a bear carcass in the woods. I've came across a deer skull, but I think it was left there by someone, and then other bones close to the sides of roads and things where they were probably hit by a car. I did actually in Maine when I was hiking the Appalachian Trail came across a moose carcass that had fallen down this ridge, and it was next to this river. Wow. That was the only and that was pretty crazy. But moose are also super clumsy and do crazy stuff. But,
yeah. Well, but I mean, just what you said there. Even though you find them, you're not just stumbling over them. You're talking about how many years you've been doing that, and you just, were able to point out a couple that you had found. So, it's one of those things. If this thing is got a population that is just so small, that there's no way to compare it to how many, hundreds of thousands of deer are out there in a 100 square mile area or whatever. It's just one of those things that if they're that small of a population, it's going to be less likely to find anything of them, because, I mean, there's people that do the Bigfoot researching almost full time, and they go out, and other than some whoops or knocks every once in a while, a lot of them never have encounters either. So, the likelihood that you're going to find, bones or a dead one is just, almost zilch, And plus, you got to consider that the UFOs and the government's taking them when they die too. So,
definitely. I mean, it's possible. I mean, there have been, like we were saying earlier, and I've read stories about people seeing Bigfoots get into UFOs in some of John Keel's books, and Joe wanted. Oh, go ahead. Oh.
No, I was going to say one of the people that we have interviewed for this film was Stan Gordon, who has done that great new book, Silent Invasion.
Yeah.
And basically the book is about how he's a UFO investigator primarily, but there were all kinds of these occurrences of Bigfoot sighting and phenomenon at the same time as UFO occurrences. And there literally were Bigfoot's turning into orbs and Bigfoot's going up into UFOs and, all this kind of stuff. And so we're looking at that Bigfoot UFO connection in this one too. And it's fascinating. I've actually got Glenn Paul Richardson doing some art for one of the stories that Stan Gordon tells. And on the down low, after we're off the air, I'll share some of that with you. But it's going to be fascinating. So yeah, we're looking at all of it: the paranormal, the supernatural, the UFO, the quantum. We even talked with Ron Moorhead and his quantum Bigfoot theory. I mean, we've got some real heavy hitters in this in their field. So.
Seriously.
Sorry. So what was the question there? Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Joe was saying that back in 2008, he saw a ginormous bat-looking thing, and it was around Bristol. It was spotted in Bristol, Virginia. It had at least 15-foot wingspan, or wing to wing. He was wondering if you had heard anything about that in that area.
No, but I tell you something super, super weird that I immediately thought of. I've not seen or heard. There's been all kinds of. I mean, there's even a book written about the town of Raythel that's buried under South Holston Lake when the TVA dammed it up and put the lake there, called Dawn of the Vampire by William Hill. Fascinating book, and he just re-released it in an expanded version, Return to Dawn of the Vampire. Anyways, and it obviously is about vampire type and werewolf type creatures around the lake and everything, but most of that is pretty much fiction, stories and everything. But the first thing that I immediately thought of was we just recently, back in March, our old dog, Kip, we had to have him put down. He had a good run. He was somewhere between 14 and 16 years old and had to have him put down. And we had buried him in the little corner of the yard in the hill back here. And that night, we had buried him the next day. And that night, I was literally in our backyard taking our other dog, Max, out for the, go potty before we go to bed and everything. And it was pitch black out there. There must not have been any kind of moon or ambient light or anything, but it was pitch black. And it was just very weird and very ominous. But we walked out there, and I was standing up on the porch, and Max went down into the yard. And something huge and black took off from the middle of the yard, startled Max, and he ran back. And I was like, what the heck was that?
Wow.
And, you tell yourself, was it one of these, what we call turkey vultures around here, condor, whatever, we call them turkey vultures. Mm-hmm. Was it one of them because we had just buried the dead dog? I really doubt that they'd have been able to, and especially at night like that. But it was it kind of freaked my wife out. I told her, I was like, what was that? But I'm just telling you, it had a huge wingspan, because when it took off, it was a and it was obviously very dark or very black, because you couldn't see any kind of light or anything. And I mean, it was weird. That's the closest thing I could even say. But
that is weird.
It was one of those. I immediately pulled my phone out, and you know how you can shake your phone and make the light come on. Of course, it ain't going to reach out to the yard, but you were startled, scared, shocked all at once, and I couldn't see what it was. But it was something. It's the only time anything like that's ever happened here. Thank goodness, because we sit out there around the fire pit in the backyard. But it was truly weird. It was something big and winged. I would assume it was a big old turkey vulture, but it just didn't make sense that there was one in the middle of the yard, not near the grave. It was at night, and you just don't normally hear or see that,
Yeah.
It was just totally, totally weird. So there you go.
That's an awesome story. I'm very sorry about your dog, too. But thank you for sharing that story, because that could have some. I mean, I didn't even know that about that either. That there's large winged monsters sighted there.
I've not heard of any other than, we used to tell the tales when we'd be camping out at South Austin Lake. We'd be out on the boats and out on the islands camping and whatnot, and I would tell the story from Dawn of the Vampire, the book. I would kind of retell it, and there were mysteries about while they were building the dam. There were a lot of mysterious deaths. This was like back in the 40s or 50s. I think it was 50s. And that there was a green-eyed woman luring the workers into the woods, and people would go disappearing or die mysteriously. So there was, stories. You don't know how much of it's true, but some of the stories made it into the book, Dawn of the Vampire.
Wow.
And it's one of those, it's out of print. If you can find it online, I think he has it like maybe through Kindle, but I know he has his revised version, which he actually added about 200 pages to it and went in depth more on the sunken town of Rayful, where all this phenomenon comes from. So I know it's a big plug, but he's a super guy. I was lucky enough that the only book I've ever read 3 times in my entire life, and now I've become friends with William Hill, and we actually met here in Bristol, and me and his wife and my wife went out for dinner and drinks after his little conference that he had here. But anyway, so, that could be, to someone that's interested in something like that around Bristol, there's some stories, but, they're more towards the vampire stuff, the green-eyed lady stuff. I mean, I know back when I used to run the mountain roads, we would go out towards Shady Valley, and people talked about how there were supposedly vampires out towards Jacobs Creek and out in there and stuff. And so, but I guess every town is like that. But when we were younger, we were always looking for something, kind of like you are now, except I'm too old and smart to be doing what you do. But we used to do stuff. To be honest with you, it was the thrill, and it scared us. I don't want to be scared anymore, man. So, but anyways, we used to go looking for stuff like that, and so you'd always were fascinated by those stories. So there's certainly stories of the unusual around here. But anyways, hopefully that kind of answered that. But.
Yeah. He also had mentioned that he heard about werewolves around that area. I'm not sure if you heard that.
Yeah, actually, I was on Vic Cundiff's Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio because he had heard that I had had a Bigfoot encounter. And I said, no, I've never told anybody I had a Bigfoot encounter. He said, well, somebody told me you had something happen up on the mountain when you were hunting. I went, well, yeah, I did. I can't say it was a Bigfoot, but there was certainly something weird. And so I proceeded to tell him, and one thing led to another, and he wanted me to come on the show and tell the story and talk about cultured Bigfoot. So that being said, because we listen to a lot of Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio and Dogman Encounters, my wife has listened to every one of them, there's a guy named Hondo. It's his military name, a retired military guy. The same mountain that I had my encounter on, South Holston Mountain on the Shady Valley side of it, Johnson County, this guy had a standoff with just his knife one night with Dogman, and then he went back with a buddy, and you can find it if you go on his YouTube. You can find it, put in Hondo, and listen to it, dude. And I'm talking to you, not just your folks, but listen to the encounter with Hondo. They went back there armed to the teeth with weapons, firearms, and basically had a standoff with at least 4 of them overnight. And this is where I used to freaking hunt, dude. Anyways, there's been, and I mean, there's been at least that I know of, a couple Dogman encounters and a handful of Bigfoot encounters. And it's the Cherokee National Forest, and the Appalachian Trail runs right across the top of it. And you hike the trail, so you know where I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's right as you can see. If you're coming from down south, you look off to your left and you see South Holston Lake down there. Well, that's where I'm talking about. Basically, you look over to the right and you see Shady Valley. That was where we hunted. It was right up there near the Appalachian Trail as 421 goes across the mountain, and in between there and all the way down to Damascus, Virginia, and Backbone Rock. And I know you know where Damascus is because it's a big trail stop. So, anyways, there's especially around the Appalachian Trail, there's quite a bit of activity related to Bigfoot, and then now folks are starting to kind of come forward with the Dogman stuff, and I don't want nothing to do with that stuff. I'm not even sure if I want to see a Bigfoot.
Yeah,
I'm interested in it, but I don't know if I want to see one. But I really don't think I want to see a Dogman, because everything I've ever listened and heard, those are almost entirely 100% aggressive encounters, and I'd like to go out a hero, but I don't want to go out that kind of hero.
Yeah, when it comes to Dogman and Lizardman, usually they're pretty violent stories about them, like killing people, and also with Dogman, you have some possible dark magic or past, just crazy stuff that people talk about.
Yeah, no, I mean, you get into the Dogman stuff and you get into the ritualistic stuff and the satanic stuff, the demonic stuff. I mean, it's just, as unnatural as a Bigfoot seems, the Dogman stuff is just super unnatural, and no pun intended. That's just but I mean, it's one of these things, though, dude. If you look at history and you look at the pyramids and the glyphs and all this kind of stuff like that, and there's been tons of stories of dog-headed people for centuries.
Yep.
I mean, there's been giants and there's been dog-headed people. So
yeah, exactly.
There's a lot more than that, but the two things we happen to be talking about, there's just there's been a lot of history in that. So
definitely,
it's got to be based on something. That's what everybody always says, is those legends are normally based on a story of an occurrence that actually happened to somebody, and then it kind of gets embellished and grows, but there's normally a kernel of truth in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's one of those, like that game Telephone, where one person tells the next person, and it just changes, but there's still, like you said, there might be a little bit of truth still in that story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So before we finish it out here, I wanted to ask about the future for you guys, and what you mentioned some of the conventions you'll be at and stuff, but what any other big projects you'll be working on and anything like that?
Yeah, actually, once we got Cultured Bigfoot out and saw that it was having moderate acceptance and mild success, we had decided that, we've got in mind, just like George Lucas did, we've got in mind 3 films, but let's see how the first one goes. So we followed it up with Paranormal Bigfoot, which is about to come out, and I have already, and this is, our third one is the one we're most excited about, but I have already got lined up to do the third one, and it's Native Bigfoot, and basically we're looking at the Native American and First Nation views of Bigfoot, because basically your Native Americans and First Nation people are the ones that simply, they don't need to be Bigfoot to be proven to them. They accept it. They've got 60 some odd names across the tribes for it. And when you ask them, is it flesh and blood or spirit, they say both. Anyways, we were really interested in that and started doing research. James Mooney did a book back in the late 1800s, The Myths of the Cherokee and Sacred Formulas of the Cherokee, and it talks about the slant-eyed giants and the stone giants and stuff like that. And basically it's different interpretations of Bigfoot. And so right now I have reached out, and in June next year we're going to be making a 2-week road trip, and we're going to be going up to Canada to interview First Nations up there. We're going to be going to Oklahoma to interview a Cherokee, going to Texas to interview an Apache. We've got a couple others in the works, and basically we're going to interview even less folks for this one to spend more time on them. And if anybody knows of Kathy Strain, she wrote a magnificent book about Bigfoot, cannibals and monsters, and basically all the legends that let you know that it's not your forest friend kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We actually have gotten permission to use some of her research for this next film. We're actually using a little bit of it in this one. But anyways, we've got some really on-the-level folks that from the native perspective that are willing to it's hard to talk to folks like that a lot of times. They don't really want to. They gave up their land to us forcibly, and so they hold a lot of stuff like that and don't want to share a lot of it outside of their own people. And so we're lucky enough that we have some folks that are agreeing to talk to us, and it's one of those things. I'm about as white looking as they come, except for my braid down the middle of my back. But I have Cherokee Indian in me, and I've always been interested in trying to research more of my roots and everything. And I don't know, this is just kind of a way of touching some of that in a respectful manner, mm-hmm. but feeling like I'm kind of using something that I've not taken, a harder look at. I know I've got English and Irish and Scotch-Irish in me and everything, but I've always known there was some Cherokee in there. And so this is kind of one of those ways of doing a little research into that also, and finding out what the stories and legends are based on. And so we're really excited about it, and we're trying to continue to up our game. But for the immediate future, that is the next project, and believe it or not, Alex, we've had just a few little talks that are kind of related to the UFO subject, which, to be honest with you, I'm just the biggest UFO geek there ever was. And I got to listen and meet Stanton Freeman at Crypticon that we were a part of, and I got to meet Travis Walton at IBC that we were a part of, and then we got to hang out with him again at CryptidCon the following weekend in Kentucky. And so we had already had an interest in doing that, and then some other things just kind of fell in our lap. And I met a guy who wrote the database for MUFON, and one thing led to another. And so we're looking. That's one of those things, I'm going to be honest with you, though. We're small time, and we don't have a big setup computer graphics stuff to do all these neat computer animations and stuff. And I'm trying to work on some of that stuff like that, but you can't just sit down and talk to folks with something like that. You need a lot of visual stuff with that. And anyways, but who knows? Maybe down the road. But right now we want to get this one out, and then next year we're filming in the summer Native Bigfoot, and we hope to have it out. If we continue to kind of up our game, we're hoping to have it out by September, December, because we're not going to do as big a list of interviewers, and we're going to try and get a bunch of them done within just a couple of weeks, and then go to work on it. So hopefully by the last quarter of 2019, we'll have the third in our trilogy, Native Bigfoot, out.
Man, I'm excited for that one. I'm excited for Paranormal Bigfoot and that one. Like, that's gonna be great, man. I really can't wait to see what you guys do.
I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna love Paranormal Bigfoot. I will be getting in touch with you, and you'll be one of the few folks that will get a private link to a review link of the completed film, so that you can give us a review and share it. So before it's actually available or streaming, you'll get one of the first looks at it, and you can let us and your folks know what you think about it.
Definitely. Can't wait, man. That's awesome to hear. Before we close it out, if you want to just let everyone know how to find your stuff, Once again, I put links in the description and everything, but if you just want to
Yeah. Well, we're real simple. You can find us on Facebook, Bilco Productions, Bilco with one L, Bilco Productions, and we make it real simple. You can look us up on Facebook under the film's name. We have a Cultured Bigfoot page, we have a Rite of Passage and Author's Journey page, and we have Paranormal Bigfoot page. And once Paranormal Bigfoot is out, shortly thereafter, there'll be a Native Bigfoot page. So, anyways, you can go there to find the links to the trailers, which are on my YouTube channel, DarthBill68, and it's just a tiny channel, but I use it to post stuff like that and share it. Of course, if anybody wants any DVDs, they just inbox us on Paranormal Bigfoot, Cultured Bigfoot, or Bilco Productions, and we use the Square Card reader system, and we'll email you a secure invoice, and as soon as it's paid, we normally send it out that day or the next day, depending on how late we get it.
Awesome.
I think it's got it. Of course, it's there. And I need to reiterate that both of the films we currently have out now are now available on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can actually go watch Cultured Bigfoot and Rite of Passage and Author's Journey for free right now. And then January 18th, we'll have Paranormal Bigfoot available for rent and download on there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, anyone who has Prime, definitely go check those out.
Yeah.
I know last time you did a whoop for us. You want to do another whoop before we go?
I'll probably wake my wife up if I do it, but yeah, I'll give it the old try. I'm actually going to do the old John Boy whoop. Ow, 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 ow.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Bill. Always a pleasure talking and
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us back on, Alex. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and you're one of those folks. I've said, if anything, when we've been involved in the Bigfoot community, we've just made a lot of awesome friends, and I mean that. We've made a lot of awesome friends, and you're one of those guys that we had met a couple times, and then it just kind of turned into me and you will kind of shout at each other every once in a while and just got a lot of similar interests. And I don't like to do as much of the crazy stuff as you do, but that's because I'm old, and that's okay, man. I'll live vicariously through your videos, man. But anyways, yeah, thanks for having us on and the support and everything. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man, no problem at all. And hope to see you guys at. I'm sure I'll see you around somewhere this upcoming year.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll bump into each other.
Oh yeah, awesome.
But yeah, you get back up to Bristol way, and I'm sure your buddy Joe can point you in the right direction. But if not, I'll point you towards South Holston and the vampires, and towards Five Caves and the caves down there.
Sounds great. Sounds like something I'd be very into. So after talking about it and hearing about it, I'm like, I gotta get up there.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, dude, there's a very famous haunted house just in between here and my in-laws' house that you can't really get on the property. I'm pretty sure you'd get in a lot of trouble, but it's got some freaky stories too.
Wow. Well, thanks so much, man, and have a great night, and I look forward to Paranormal Bigfoot.
All right, thank you, Alex. Have a good one, sir.
All right, man. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everyone. That was Bill Lancaster, Bilco Productions, on talking about lots of awesome stuff. We really covered some cool stuff tonight. Can't wait to see Paranormal Bigfoot. The lineup of interviews he got on that film, seriously impressive, and I can't wait to see what all those guys have to say. He got Bob Gimlin, I think, is in there, and Ron Moorhead, and just like it's gonna be great. I'm telling you, it's gonna be one Bigfoot film that I'm gonna get to add to my collection, because I've watched everything that Bill has done so far, and I really love his style, and I cannot wait for that and the third one as well. So, what I was going to tell you guys about Dark Skies and Paranormal Den will be Jason's going to be the guest on next week's show. He's going to be promoting the Chippewa Slaughterhouse, which is a location that soon to be open for investigations in Ohio, where someone was murdered. There was the slaughterhouse where pigs were slaughtered. I mean, it's a crazy location. I've seen some of the videos from this place, and it's just insane. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about some of the experiences surrounding these mirrors he's been making, and some of the things that have been happening to the people that own them, including myself. I actually just got one 2 days ago. It came, and there's a video up on the YouTube if you haven't seen that yet. So definitely check that out. And yes, I agree that I need to get up to Bristol, get out to that South Holston Lake, and go vampire and werewolf hunting as soon as possible. That whole, and then the 5 caves thing. I love that Bill has shared those places with me, because like, I got to get back up there. I really like that area too. It's just a great area. So anyway, guys, if you guys have Amazon Prime, go watch Cultured Bigfoot tonight, and be ready for Paranormal Bigfoot in January. I look forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday. Jason Emmerich, Paranormal Den, will be the guest. Yeah, I think that's about it. We might have a. I'm gonna try to sneak in some live streams soon. I know I haven't been on it as much. Been very busy. Also dealing with some things here that have hindered me, but not to worry, guys. I have a lot of big things in the works, and I think you guys are going to be very excited once you see some of the stuff I've been working on. And yeah, I think that's it. Huge thanks to Bill Code Productions for coming on. Yeah, let's end it right there. That's perfect, right, guys? Perfect. All right, y'all. Have a great night, and Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays, all that good stuff. I hope everyone gets lots of awesome presents.